My name is Gillian Robinson, President. Thank you. President of the Adopter Youth Foundation. While we wait on the others to start, especially for Mr. Berry's sake, I'm just going to give a little background as to what we do here at the Adopter Youth Foundation and what it's all about. I see some of our mentees and mentors have already joined, but I know others will join shortly. We will be having our presentations monthly. Now, we used to have them every Friday. Now we're going monthly, once a month, and use the rest of the month as a workshop to whatever presentations we've had. I'm the president of the Adopter Youth Foundation. The foundation has directors, a vice president, and directors that manage different pillars of the foundation. Pillars such as mentorship, psychospiritual, entrepreneurship. These are some of the main pillars. Volunteerism that we really work on it. I would not say, yes, scholarships. We do a lot of, when you talk about scholarship, preparing youth for scholarship and providing scholarships for youth. That's because of our allegiance. We have joined with Scholarships Jamaica. And entrepreneurship, really see our youth looking into their skills as entrepreneurs and also being able to earn while they're in school, out of school, but earn while in Jamaica internationally. So we have a number of youth who are really looking into their businesses. We recently had a entrepreneurship competition where persons were able to do pitches, and from that pitch we had some winners that were compensated. So the foundation does a lot, but more than anything else, our objective is to bring opportunities to our youths. And we have been doing that. And when I say youth go from 9, we have some 40-year-old youth, we have some 25-year-old youth, we have youth of all ages. So we have been bringing opportunities to our youth. I have to say thank you very much to all the mentors online. These mentors are people who have passion for youth, and out of their resources in terms of time and energy and passion, they have been giving to the youth, and we will continue to do so. So NHT, a number of persons have been trying to own homes. Some have owned, some don't even know what to do, how to go about it. Even though we have NHT right here in Jamaica, some people, they have been speaking to people all over, but still do not understand. Some people do understand, but want to understand a little more. No, we have NHT right in our midst this evening. And it's an opportunity to just listen. You'll be able to ask the relevant questions that will help you to be able to own a home. I am hoping that our presenter will be able to just bring the clarity to those of us, and I say us because I don't think I have it fully clear as to some of the things, the ins and outs, and I know that a number of us will be benefiting from this. I'm hoping that our presenter will be able to bring some clarity and to a number of us this evening. Mr. Duke Berry, he's a loans officer at NHT. I have Miss Lydia Wilkes also. I've been speaking a lot with Lydia, and she told me about Mr. Berry. So I'm anticipating that you both, and I heard you say, Lydia, that the presentation will be shared, will be able to just enlighten some darkness this evening. Thank you very much for coming online. Thank you very much for sharing with us. And over to you, Lydia, or Mr. Berry, whoever else will take the floor at this time. Thank you very much. I see our host have posted links in the chat. Please follow us on social media. All the handles are there. Hit us up. Over to you, Miss Lydia.
Good night. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay. All right. It is my pleasure to be here. It's always good for me. It's refreshing to share with persons what it is that the NHT does, and it's particularly good for me because I get a sense of fulfillment when I speak to persons and thereafter they're able to own their own homes because of the clarity that they received during our speaking engagement. I'm going to open up for questions, but I prefer to have my questions at the end of the session, because some of the questions that you will stop me to ask, I would have been presenting on them along the way. So I always encourage my persons to get pen and paper and just kind of make a little jotting of your questions, and then thereafter I will respond to them. I always start my speaking engagements with a word of prayer. And so I invite you to join me now as we ask for God's guidance. Father, in the name of Jesus, we thank you for the opportunity to be gathered like this. We thank you for this foundation, and we thank you for the purpose that it serves. We ask for a good evening, a good presentation. We ask for clarity. And we pray, Lord, that at the end of this, objectives of owning their own homes would have been met. Continue to abide with us, we pray. In Jesus' name. Amen. So I'm going to be sharing my screen for a little. Are you able to see, Jillian?
Yes, I can see it, Lydia.
And I want persons to just spend a couple minutes, spend about 3 minutes on this and tell me what it is. You can turn on your mics and tell me what are the words that you're picking up here that are relevant to you. They are your reality. Whatever 3 words, this is the first 3 words. Anybody?
Daniel Peart, you can go ahead.
I see power, gratitude, and change.
All right, Daniel, those are your three realities.
Alicia.
I see, good evening, everyone. I see strength, I see health, and money.
Oh, yes.
Okay. All right, that's it. Omari. Let's see them on. Omari.
Bright spot in the year came second. The hopes and hearts of
The connection is on her.
Connection.
Is on her.
Okay, Samantha. Ash.
I see power, family care.
Good. Anita.
I see connect, power, and gratitude.
Okay, Michael Douglas.
It's Camille. So I
Camille,
see
go ahead.
connection, money, health.
All righty. Lovely. Can take down your hand if it was up. Swilks.
Okay. All right, guys, that's all good. Everything, every word that was mentioned herein have to be one of somebody's reality, even if it is not yet. Certainly by the end of this discussion, it ought to be. I am going to, my presentations are not usually long, but because of the purpose of the foundation and the mix of persons that I understand are involved here, I'll add 2 areas that I don't usually discuss in my presentations. And one is that of compliance with the National Housing Trust. The Housing Trust was actually founded by Michael Manley back in the 70s. And the objective of this is to help poor persons, persons at the lower end of the financial tail, to own their own homes, to realize the dream of owning your home, because there has to be dignity, not because you're not earning a lot of money, and not because you're not highly educated, not because you don't come from a certain background, does not mean that you are not entitled to certain things. And so the objective was that everybody would have a chance, or most persons, because the reality is that everybody in Jamaica will not own a home. And that's not only because of the NHD, but for different reasons which we don't want to get into right now. But at least most persons would have owned a home, and there would be something to pass on down the line to their children. So what happened is that persons who are employed, PAYEs, they are an amount of 2% of your gross salary is taken out as contributions to the National Housing Trust, and that is sent in, and that's how you become compliant, because after 52 weeks of contribution with the National Housing Trust, you're eligible to get a loan of between 0 to 4% to purchase the home. And Mark, I said 52 weeks. I did not say a year, because I don't want persons to leave with the impression that it has to be a calendar year of contributions for you to be eligible. It's 52 weeks. So if when you were doing summer job at age 18, because you start paying tax at 18. So if when you were doing summer job at age 18, when you finished high school, and they took out NHT out of your salary, and you did that for 8 weeks, that's 8 out of the 52. You went to university and you never did summer job again until the following year. That's another 8 weeks, perhaps, or depending on how long. So it's 52 weeks. It does not have to be one calendar year. What is important is that at the point of applying for a mortgage from the National Housing Trust, you must be a current contributor. So when I say 52 weeks, that makes you eligible, but when you come in at the point, you have to be contributing, and yes, you contribute for the rest of your working life, whether or not you are a mortgager with the NHD. That contribution is paid in by your employer to the National Housing Trust. It's their responsibility to pay over your contributions to the trust. They also have a responsibility to match it, but the match that the employers do have nothing to do with you obtaining a mortgage from the trust. All right, so after the 52 weeks, you're compliant. There are those who have their own businesses. They live abroad. You can contribute to the trust as a self-employed if you are not working. If you're not a PAYE, you have your shop, you have your hairdressing parlor, things like that, you can register and you can pay your contributions and become a self-employed contributor, which makes you eligible to get a mortgage. If you're living overseas and you're working, you can contribute from overseas as a voluntary contributor, because some persons, they go overseas to work and they want to come home to own their home. So while they're there, they can work, they can contribute to the trust and purchase their house, that when they come back home, they have a home to go to. So you have that option. And that's becoming compliant with the National Housing Trust. Before you can get a loan, you must be a contributor. You don't get a loan because you used to contribute. You don't get a loan because your grandmother used to contribute. You get a loan because you're a current contributor to the National Housing Trust. So if you stopped working at one company and you did not work for 3 months, sorry, not 3, let me not use 3. Let us say you lost your job, God forbid, and you were not working for a year. You cannot come within that year to apply for a mortgage because you must be a current contributor. The only way you can come within that year if while you were laid off, you started to contribute as a self-employed contributor just to get your contributions going and to keep your account active and alive. So you have to be current. That's the first part now about being compliant with the trust. You must be a contributor. The second part is that there's something called contribution refunds. Now, whether or not you are a contributor to the whether or not you're a mortgager with the National Housing Trust, you are entitled to your contribution refunds by law. What happens is that money that I just spoke to you about that you pay into the trust every year or monthly, so that so in order for you to be compliant, that money is held for apart from helping you to gain points, gather points in order to get a house, a scheme benefit through the trust. The money is also held for 7 years and paid out in the 8th. For example, we are in 2022 and the trust is now paying refunds for 2014. Point I'm getting at is that money that you put in, you can get it back. You get it back at the 8th. It's held for 7 years, you get it back in the 8th year, and it's paid back to you with interest. If it is that you get a mortgage, your contribution refunds will not be paid to you in hand. It will be paid to the principal of your mortgage with interest. Right now, there is something in place for public sector workers who are mortgagors to get back their refunds in their hand. I'm not sure how much longer that will last for, because that was something that was put in place by then Portia Simpson Miller, former Prime Minister, because there was a wage freeze on public sector salaries. So I don't know how much longer this will be in place for. However, if they change that and you're not able to get it in hand, it will go to your mortgage. Once you do not have a mortgage, you can always apply back for your refund. All right. There are different types of refunds. There are about 5 different types. I'll speak to you on 4. One is a regular refund that I spoke about just now, where you come every 8 years and you get your refund. So now we're paying 2014. Next year we pay 2015. The other year we pay 2016, and so forth. There is retired refund. Now, if you were somebody who came every year for your refund, let's say every January, I'm not sure why people choose January, because refund is paid 12 months for the year. But let us say that you come every January to get your refund, and then in 2022, in January of 2022, you came and you got a 2014 refund where you're still employed, and by August you retire. At your retirement point, you are eligible to get back 2015 to the point that you retire. So you can come back again for that bulk payment. You get that back with interest. So that's retired refund. There's invalidity. If you have been deemed an invalid, and please note, ladies and gentlemen, I said invalid and not disability. Invalidity and not disability. A lot of our disabled persons can work. Invalids are not usually able to work, and persons take offense to the word invalid, but there is a difference between an invalid and a disabled person. So if you have been declared an invalidity pensioner by the NIS office, you can also come back and get back a bulk refund like you would have gotten for the retired. There is expatriate. Colleagues, when you work in Jamaica and you leave and go abroad, let's say you're a teacher, for example, or a nurse, and you get a job overseas and you're gone over there to work. You're not an expatriate here. You're still a Jamaican. So when you go on the application, when you're overseas or you migrate, somebody filed for you, get married, and they filed for you and you migrate, and you go on and you want to apply for your refund, you are not an expatriate. You are to do a regular refund. An expatriate is somebody who has come into our country, worked on contract, and they are returning home. They are entitled to a refund of all of their contributions. That's not us Jamaicans. You're an expatriate if you go to that country and work on contract and they are paying back tax refunds over there, then you can apply to them. All right, so I spoke about regular refund, I spoke about retired, I spoke about invalidity, I spoke about expatriate. And the one that I hate to talk about the most is the deceased refund. If your family member passes, I say this to all my customers. There are two things on earth that you need to secure while you're alive in order to ensure that you rest in peace. One is your salvation with Christ. You ensure that your soul is safe and secure and anchored to the rock. The other one is your estate, and estate don't mean land and house. Estate means anything that you have acquired during your working life, that you work and you achieve for. So I always say to persons, make a will. It's the worst thing when somebody comes to me to claim for a deceased refund, and I say, did the person leave a will? And they say to me, oh no, he didn't know he was going to die, so he didn't make a will. Or some other stupid response like, oh, he died suddenly. You know, we didn't know it was going to happen suddenly. The reason why people make a will is because they don't know when they're going to die. That is the purpose of the will. And so if you come to claim your loved one's refund application and there is a will, and the person has $1 million, contributed $1 million to the trust, you, the beneficiary, will get that $1 million one go. No problem. You carry in the probated will. And you get the money and life goes on. Unfortunately, if there is no will, you are not going to get anything near that $1 million. And I'm using $1 million as a benchmark. I'm not telling anybody that there's $1 million out there for everybody who passes. Depends on what the contributor, what the contributor contributed to the NHT. You're not going to get anything near that. It's a minimum amount, and the paperwork is humongous because of the security risk that comes with paying out that contribution refund to somebody who is not supposed to get it. So I urge persons to make a will. We don't know when we're going to pass. Don't tell me when I asked you that question that your husband never know that he was going to die. People, make a will. All right, so if they come with a will, everything, a probated will, everything is good and you can get that refund. And that's it for contribution refunds, and that's it for how you can become compliant in the first place to get a mortgage from the NHT. I'm gonna pause right here because I don't want anybody to forget the questions, to find out if there are any questions and on those two issues before I get to the meat of the matter, which is mortgage processing. Anybody have any questions? Anybody need any clarification? Is it okay for me to continue, Jillian?
See no hands. I see no hands. There are some questions in the chat, but I see them being answered.
My
So,
hand is up.
go ahead, please. I'm not seeing your hand.
Jean-Michel Zini.
Go
I
ahead.
asked earlier about the contribution, and I recognize that I got a response in terms of if my employer did not pay over
Right.
My question is, why would we really need that letter if the SO2 was filed showing the total contributions? Why would we still need a letter of contribution?
All right, letters of contributions are asked for under certain conditions. One is when you're retired. All right, what is the reason for you asking that? Because there are different reasons why we ask for it.
My
Is it
main
for
reason-
your refund or it's for somebody who has retired?
Well, it would be my reason
right.
as an employee.
All right, so there are different reasons. One is that sometimes when the SO2 comes to us, persons' names are left off. You apply for your refund, we don't have it on the system. There are different reasons why sometimes when persons apply for the refund, they don't get it. One of them is non-payment, but it is not always non-payment. And so I try to be very clear when I say to somebody that I don't see any refunds for you, can you get a letter? Because automatically persons think that it is non-payment. The company never pay my money and I go and kill the boss and I go and kill him family and all of that kind of stuff. And you say it in the crowd, in the lobby, and everybody jump up and say, yes, kill them. It is not always because of non-payment. It could be that your name is left off the SO document. It could be that your name was spelled incorrectly. So when we did when we do the electronic download, the system don't recognize it. So we have to get a letter to say that what came in SEAN is really for SHAWN and that they are one and the same, and you may go ahead and proceed. It could also be that, well, I don't think that this one would particularly relate to you, but there are different reasons why. And sometimes the annual return, the SO4 didn't come in as well. Those are some of the reasons. There are different reasons why.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Abigail, I see Abigail, and I see Moto G has a question, but Abigail, please go ahead.
Yes. Good night, Miss. I heard you. Let me look back on what I don't know. Okay. So you stated earlier that if you have been working for 52 weeks, you can be eligible for the loan. However, can you please repeat the interest that you have stated?
Look for that you pay back the mortgages at?
Yes, miss.
Are you talking about the interest that we pay the mortgages that are the interest for the refund fee paid back to you?
Could you please state both?
All right. So the trust interest rates on mortgages are between 0 and 4%, 4 being the highest. When we pay you back the refunds, the one that is held for 7 years and paid in the 8th year, like we pay in 2014 now, you get that you get back that at 3% per year. Whether or not it's being collected in your hand or going to your mortgage.
Okay, miss. So what would make persons eligible for a 0% interest loan?
I'm going to get to that part when I start talking on loans. So I soon answer that, all right? I'm going to show you the table. Any other questions?
Thank you. I see Moto G, Power. I'm going to read her question or his question. I only contributed for 4 months from the last place I was working. Haven't thrown since. How can I reapply and how long will it take for me to qualify?
All right, I don't think is reapply that person should say. So the fact that the person said reapply says to me that they're not clear on that part of it. So let me try to clear up that. I'm suspecting, and the person can clarify if this is what they mean, that they want to know how they can start contributing again.
Yeah.
And you would register if it is that the person is not working with a company now, if the person is not a PAYE, then they can visit the tax office and they can register as a self-employed contributor. And that will make them, they'll need to contribute. Well, 4 months doesn't sound as if they are not yet at the 52 weeks of the
Right.
4 months worth of contribution, but that would start them back on the road to their 52 weeks and current contributions. I'm hoping that the person would clarify if that's what they meant in the question.
What a G?
Because
Right.
when using the word reapply would mean that you're mixing getting back refunds and they wouldn't be eligible for a refund just yet.
Okay. I see Samantha asking, can you repeat what you said about getting only the principal for the refund?
Money is the contribution refund is credited to the principal. So some persons don't see why they should pay a mortgage. Like for example, January morning, on the 1st of January, the money is the system, the mortgages systematically take the refunds and put it to the principal. So some persons are debating that they shouldn't have to pay their mortgages for January, but it is not paid to the payment part of your mortgage. It's not put against your monthly payment, it is put against your principal. So if you borrowed $6.5 million from the trust, your monthly payment is made up of peril insurance, life insurance, and the mortgage. When you put it to the principal, it goes straight to the mortgage and interest. When you put it to the principal, it goes straight to the mortgage. It doesn't, no interest comes out of it, no insurance, no anything like that. So it goes to lessen the overall part of the mortgage, but not a monthly payment. So you still have to pay make your monthly payment.
Okay. Okay, so you will finish paying earlier, but your monthly payment is not reduced. Is that so?
No, that's exactly what I'm saying. Unless from time to time the government changes some policy where they say your interest rate go down a lot of data and things like that. So your payment will become less at that point. But in terms of the refund is going to go to the principal. If however, especially self-employed persons, they are experiencing challenges in making their monthly payments,
Yeah.
you can write to the trust and ask that, we put it to your monthly payment as you're experiencing difficulties. Can't be an every year thing though.
Okay, good. Any more questions? All right. What is requirement to register as a self-employed person? I think this is coming from an overseas person. No, what's requirement as a self-employed?
Overseas person, they would register as a voluntary contributor and not as a self-employed. Self-employed persons are Jamaican persons who are living here who own their own business. And people, believe me when I say, and let me just pause here to say, anybody can own a home through the National Housing Trust. Anybody. At the recent handing over of a particular scheme, and I'm not diverting from the question, by the way, I'm going to answer it. At the recent handing over of a particular scheme, I think it was safe to say 70% of the persons who were selected for benefits in those schemes were persons who were self-employed. And when I say self-employed, I mean a windscreen wiper who went out and wiped windscreen and in PM contribution among time. I mean a hustler, a higgler, who all she sells are masks. She bag them out and she walk and she sell them. I mean a shopkeeper, and I don't mean shopkeeper like proper shop. I mean somebody where she was living, she'd have one shop on her veranda in the people them rent house. That's what I mean. So when I say self-employed, I really genuinely mean self-employed. I don't mean it's not only dressmaker and barber and tailor alone, self-employed. If you sell bag juice, and Jillian, you'll know back in our days about suck.
Of course, Leah.
Good old refreshing suck, and you want to pay, say yourself 5,000 worth of, let's say on a daily basis, you sell $5,000 worth of suck. That's 5 times 5,000.
Yeah.
you are earning above minimum wage right there, so you're going, you declare your 3%. Self-employed contributors contribute at 3%. You go and you pay your 3%. And you are making your contributions to the trust so that you can get your home. All right, back to the question. So an overseas person would contribute as a voluntary contributor, which means they do it if they want to. If they don't want to, they don't have to. They stop at any time. They don't have to notify the trust that they're stopping. Self-employed persons, by the way, need to inform the trust. For example, I'm not making any money. I am not well. I used to sell my bag juice, but I'm now sick. My foot's sick and I can't walk, and so I'm not making any money. And so they are obligated to inform the trust, especially if you're going to need a benefit. Because later on, when we don't select you for the house, you're going to say, why are you used to contribute? And we're going to say, is I used to, you have to be a current contributor. Then we would have had it on file that your foot was sick and you couldn't, you know. A voluntary contributor has no obligations. They can stop whenever they want, and if they don't bother want a house, that's fine. When the 8 years come, they can collect back their money with interest. So for them, for a voluntary contributor, they need to send an email to compliance@nht.gov.jm and ask for directives as to how to become compliant with the trust. Guys are asking you for 30 seconds. I need to send you a voice note, Gillian.
Yes.
In the meantime, good evening, everyone. Let me just respond to a question I see in the chat. A question from Monique. She asks, do I have to notify the tax office about my employment status since I was contributing as a self-employed person and is now employed? The answer is yes. You should ensure that you notify the tax office because they are expecting a SO4A or a SO4 at the end of the period. A SO4A is an estimate and a SO4A is an estimate and a SO4 is an actual. So you need to indicate to them that you are now employed, so you are you won't be contributing as a self-employed person anymore.
Mr. Berry, just to ask another question relating to that. You still have your business and you are also employed, and you used to pay your, file your returns, which include NHT. And you're now we are making your payment through your salary. But how do you manage that?
Well, if you are self-employed and also employed, then you
yes.
as self-employed and employed, if that's what you really want to do.
Yes.
But if you're having your business and you're earning from your business and income, and you are also employed, you can do both. Okay.
How is that beneficial? Is there any extra benefits through the NHT doing that?
In terms of the loan ceiling, no, it still remains at the current loan ceiling at 6.5. It may increase as the year goes by or as the Prime Minister sees it fit, but it remains at 6.5. The only benefit you have is the benefit of affordability. So for your income, your current employment is not giving you sufficient income for you to afford the full 6.5. Then your self-employed portion now becomes a beneficial to you, because you can add that to your employed income in order for you to afford the full amount.
Okay, great, thanks. I see Anita has a question. The NHT have some old schemes with lands that have no house on it. Are these lands for sale?
That's your question, please.
Are those lands that you see are owned by someone? Are they for sale? Probably, or probably not. The individuals who own the land, they are the ones who make the determination as to whether or not they're going to be selling the property.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.
I think that's it, Lydia. Let me see if I
Right.
missed.
So I can move on now to my next presentation, which
Alicia Senior has her hand up. I don't want to miss that. Sorry, Lydia.
Go ahead.
Alicia, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much. For persons who are ill, they got, I'm not sure what the word is, but say you have written in or you've come into the NHT to tell the NHT that I used to work, so I would normally contribute or pay my mortgage, but I'm now sick, I can't work, and there is a waiver given for a year, but after a year, you're still not well. What does the individual do? Can the individual come in to get a further extension on that time?
All right.
Yes.
Sorry, go ahead. You're answering Duke, you can go ahead.
Yes. In response to that, the assessment is done on a case-by-case basis. We normally require for the mortgager to provide us with certain documentation as proof as to what they are saying, that they're still sick. And depending on the situation, there are a number of things you may choose to treat with it. If it is, I get the impression that you're making reference to a moratorium period, say
Yes.
for 12 months.
I think so.
So if it is that is not sufficient to treat with the situation and it is proven that you're still sick, then the NHT can look at other ways to assist in the process until you're back on your feet.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Janet, is your hand up? Did we answer your question? I see your hand still up.
No, not yet. Not
Okay.
yet. Yeah, so good evening, everyone. The question I have as it relates to NHT. Now, I'm living in Canada. We're a contributor to the program. However, due to circumstances, we could not be able to continue the contribution. But now that I'm in a self-employment position, how can I continue with the contribution?
Right, Janet, you'll be contributing as, are you saying since you've been in Canada, you have not contributed?
No, I've always been here. And when I set up the account, it was set up from here.
Okay. So you were contributing before as a voluntary contributor?
No, as an employer. Employee.
No.
Just
No. When you were, all right, so I'm to assume that when you were in Jamaica, you were working with somebody and they took they paid over your contribution, right?
No. I started the process here in Canada.
All right, that's fine. So once you're outside of Jamaica, you're a voluntary contributor here. However, you make the money.
Even although I was working with an employer?
Yeah, but it's not the employer who was taking it out of your salary and paying it to the NHT on your behalf. It's you who was paying your contribution, right?
Right.
So you're a voluntary contributor. You need to send an email to the compliance department and ask and inform them that you'd like to restart your contributions.
But the thing is now we had to submit like pay stub and all of that.
Yeah, an assessment will be done still.
Okay.
There are certain requirements. So you are going, I'm hoping that you had informed the compliance department that you were going to stop and you didn't just stop, but that's fine.
I wasn't aware of the process, the procedure process.
That's fine, not a problem. So you just need to send that email now to compliance@nht.gov.jm and inform them that you would like to restart your voluntary contributions.
And then even if I don't know my number or remember it?
Talk to compliance and they will deal with you on that issue.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Okay, thank you. You can continue now, Lydia.
All right. So let me say this, ladies and gentlemen. I hinted at this before. owning a home is a big deal. It is your right to own a piece of the rock. It is something that everybody should work towards. There are certain things in life that you need to achieve, or it made no sense. It makes no sense that you would have worked all your life and not achieve these things. One is a home. Not everybody is going to own a home. Not everybody is going to own a home through the NHT, even if you're a contributor, and that's the reality. Not everybody needs to own a home through NHT. Some persons have it handed down to them. There's generational wealth. My father left enough for all his children. I'm the only child for my mother. I will get her house. We're going to deal with all of that. The mandate of the trust is to increase the housing stock in Jamaica as best as possible, right? So that as much persons can get. And to improve quality of life for every Jamaican, as I said, some things you work towards and it don't make any sense. You would have worked all your life and get to retirement age and you don't own, and certain things don't harm. And one of them is quality of life must be good, certainly by the time of retirement. All right. Employed persons, they pay their 2% to the trust. Self-employed persons pay 3%. The longer you contribute to the National Housing Trust is the more points you would have garnered towards owning a scheme unit. There is a difference between a scheme unit and an open market unit. A scheme unit is built and distributed by the National Housing Trust. So, for example, a scheme is built in Longville, Clarendon. It is advertised, persons apply for it, you're selected. Mostly, it's heavily weighted, not only, but mostly weighted on the amount of points you have with the trust. There are other considerations, such as whether or not you live in the area, whether or not you work in the area. There are other, your affordability, that kind of thing. There are other things, but it's mostly weighted on your points. And yes, the reality of the situation is that persons who have been working long for years, 20 years, 20 odd years, 30 years, would automatically have more points than you. Who just start working 5 years, who just leave university and have 2 years in the system, it is automatic that they are going to have more points than you. So there will always be a challenge for young persons to get a scheme unit. It is not impossible, and I'll tell you how you can get to it. But it is, the reality of the situation is that it's driven by points based, and the older persons will have more points because they have been working longer. So you will hear a lot of young persons complaining and quarreling that is payroll people get NHT house. But remember, those old people were one time young too and waiting on their turn. So think about it. They are going to get the option. For the young persons, let us say that your parents already own a home that they did not purchase through the National Housing Trust. There is something called Parent Assist that they can assist you, that they can help you with, that you can use their benefit and their points to add to yours to make you have enough points so that you have a chance at selection. There's also the case of them simply just joining with you and giving you their co-owning the home with you. So the points would be added there. Other than that, there's the open market. The trust gives a maximum of $6.5 million. And out of that $6.5 million, you can get 2.5 to buy land and another $4 million to build. If it is 2 of you, you get 5 million to buy land, 8 million to build, and then there's now the option of 3 persons joining together to purchase, 3 family members now joining together to purchase a property. My next comment is geared towards the young people. Be careful who you join with to purchase your house. Your house is a lifelong achievement. It's something that you're tied into. Don't allow anyone to talk you out of your benefits. Some of the lines that people may use in order to get your benefits, they'll tell you that you're young. For example, you leave university, you get your job, you make it 52 weeks and you're now eligible for a loan. They'll tell you that you're young. And by the time you're ready to buy another house, you'd have gotten more points. You'd have garnered. It's not gonna happen. You get one benefit from the National Housing Trust. Be careful who you share that benefit or give that benefit to, because you will not get another one. And I can just see the faces right now, even though I'm not looking at the camera. I can see the expressions.
That's true.
Persons, including family, will come to you to quote unquote inveigle you out of your benefits. Be careful. I will not tell anybody. It is not my position to tell anybody not to give your benefit away. It's your choice. But I'm saying the long-term tie of that benefit, I don't know if it's something you want to deal with for life. Being disengaged from a loan, a title, is a tedious process. And being disengaged from it and being able to get back your benefit, I'm not saying it is impossible, people, but I'm saying it's a tedious process. All right, let's get past that one. I will not elaborate on that. I'm sure the message has been sent and you understand exactly what I'm saying. Neither did I say if your mother wants to buy a house, you shouldn't join as a young person with your mother. It's your mother. But I'm saying be careful. All right. We had already gone through this part about how you're able to qualify for a loan and how many persons may apply. Right now, the government Prime Minister recently updated that policy from 2 to 3 persons. Interest rates falls between, for the young lady who had asked this question earlier, this is her table. So persons who earn between $7,000 and $15,000, they fall in the 0% category. $15,001 to $30,099, they're still in the 0 category. Persons with $30,001 and $42,000.99 go to the 2% category. And I'm talking about general rates now. The policies of the trust were recently changed. The Prime Minister made some policy changes, and so the other columns would not apply now. I'm yet to update this slide. Haven't gotten a chance as yet. Anybody earning $42,001 and over, they fall in the 4% category. You can buy, build, or improve. So again, you can buy a piece of land, you can build on it. You come with a piece of land, or if you want to, with your own land, or you want to build on your parents' land, or your father share up, piece of land for all his children and all of that, you can come and you can get all of your 6.5 to build on that land. You have a home already. You have a title. Remember, NHT is for first-time homeowners. So if you have a home already, you're not going to get and a title with your name on it, you're not going to get 6.5. You're only going to get the amount to improve on what you have. And that's only 2.5 right now. Not sure if he will make a change to that anytime soon. Right. I'm not sure. Mr. Berry, would you like to expound on this part a little bit more? Duke?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah.
All right. So for persons who are interested in purchasing land, or well, the intent is to get a home, as Lydia has been saying, for you to live somewhere, for you to own a piece of the rock. So initially, some persons is a process where you buy a piece of land and then you build, and others you buy a house. Now, if you're buying a service lot, by the way, somebody asked about the points in the chat. The points are only necessary whenever you're buying, when NHT is selling a scheme solution. So if NHT is selling a service lot or selling a house, then the points become applicable. But if you're not buying from NHT, you're buying from anybody else in the open market, the points will not be applicable in that instance. The only way it becomes applicable.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I sorry to interrupt, but there's something I need to clear up there. Persons who, for example, the person who asked about the lands in this scheme, persons are of the opinion that if they go and they buy a house from somebody in a scheme, that's a scheme unit or a scheme solution. No, that's an open market because you did not buy the solution from NHT. You bought it from the person who bought it from NHT. So let's get that part clear. Because I know that question that question normally comes up somewhere along the line. If you didn't buy it from, if you were not selected by NHT for the scheme solution when it was built, then when you're buying it from the person who benefited, it's an open market. You can go ahead, Duke.
Yes, because that would be a private individual, not from NHT. Thank you so much for that clarity.
Right.
You acquire points for every 52 weeks. So if you take 5 years to acquire the 52 weeks, that is accounted for 1 year contribution. It's not the length of time that you have worked, but the number of weeks that you would have worked. All right. So as I said, that only applies to scheme solutions. So if you're buying, for example, you're buying in an NHT development, as I indicated earlier, you would need the points. It's referred to as a service lot or a scheme unit. So you can visit the NHT website because we have upcoming developments. You can look at when the developments will be advertised or when it will be, and you keep close to your media, whether it be your social media or the broadcasting houses to find out the gleaner, to find out when these will go on sale, when it will be advertised for sale. You can also purchase on the open market. If NHT is not selling, other private persons are selling, you can buy from them as well. You can get up to $6.5 million per contributor. And as Lydia said earlier, 3 persons can co-apply to purchase, right? And you can, for persons, if 2 persons are combining, it would be 13 million. So, 3 persons would be would be 3 times the $6.5 million, which would be 19.5. So you can buy a house lot or a house to a private developer, an individual vendor, or you can engage the services of a real estate agent in your quest to own your own home. In addition to that, persons have their own land. Somebody asked if you have your own certificate. I'm assuming it's your certificate of title, duplicate certificate of title. If you do have one and you want to build on that land, you can come into the National Housing Trust and we'll lend you the money to build on it. You can get up to $6.5 million per contributor. And as usual, if it's 2 persons, then you can get 13 million. If it's 3 persons, then it's 3 times the 6.5. Each individual gets a maximum of $6.5 million. An assessment will be done to see how much of that 6.5 each individual can actually access. So you may apply for the loan if you own the land, as I said earlier, or with registered title. if you have a registered title of another property you own, if you have legal consent to build on someone else's land or someone else's house, right? If you have an NHT finance house service lot, or a finance house lot rather, or service lot, so you can get up to the maximum of the construction limit. Say, for example, you bought the house lot for $2.5 million. It simply means that the maximum you can get is 6.5. So the difference will be $4 million. So that is what you get for construction, right? If you're going to be building. If you use less than 2.5, then you minus that from the 6.5, and then you'll have an idea as to what you have in hand to pay, right? So it's a difference between the lot, and loan entitlement, right? You can also do home improvement. If you own your own home and you haven't gotten a benefit from the National Housing Trust, you can improve that home, right? You can use a home improvement to do renovations on the inside, or you can add. And if you have another co-applicant, 2 persons, say for example, a husband and a wife, then you can get the double the $2.5 million, which is the loan limit, to do so. Now we have 3 persons who can apply. So we have up to $7.5 million to do so. Now, you may improve your house with this loan if you purchase a house independent of the National Housing Trust, or you access a loan from the NHT about 15 years ago, or you access a loan from the NHT at least 10 years ago in the case where you are a public sector worker. So these are the 3 main ways you can really access, you can access a loan. The 3 main ways you can utilize a loan rather that you access from the National Housing Trust.
Okay. Additionally, that loan that Mr. Berry spoke about, where you got a loan 10 or 15 years ago, you can get an additional amount of 2.5, which is the home improvement loan. You can use it to improve your home, or you can also use it to solarize your place. So you can use it to buy a solar panel if it is that you're having problems with JPS and you want to fully solarize your unit. In addition to all that he said a while ago, if you are a disabled person who has benefited from the National Housing Trust, the scheme units, the scheme solutions now, the trusts are building them, the trust is building them disabled friendly, meaning that they come with, all the amenities that a disabled person would need. But if it is that you have already purchased a house through the trust and somebody in your family becomes disabled, or even if it's your child or one of you, you can get a grant from the National Housing Trust, a grant of $300 to help you retrofit that place, build a ramp for the wheelchair,
Sorry, Lydia, did you say $300?
I'm sorry, $300,000. I'm sorry about that. Thank you, Duke. Put the handles in the shower for them to hold on, rails and all of that kind of stuff. So yes, and if 2 persons are in that household that are disabled, because sometimes we see 2 blind persons are together, for example, and they purchase a home together, both of them can get $300,000 each to fix their house, to improve quality of life for them. If it is, there are persons, as I mentioned before, who will never be eligible. Persons complain about the trust raising the amount from 6.5. Best believe that there are persons out there who still cannot reach the 6.5 with what their affordability. And so those persons will never own a home, considering that the trust was made for poor people. there is a grant of $2.5 million. For example, one of the schemes that I did the other day, that we handed over the other day, when I remember I said these 70% of the persons were not PAYs, these were hustlers, as I said, windscreen wipers, this higglers and that kind of stuff. And most of them were not able to afford as the one unit was selling for $4.8 million. The stupid studio unit was selling for $4.8 million. And that's after the NHT dropped it twice, because it's coming from 6 point something, it went down to 5 points, and then it ended up at 4.8, and there were still persons who could not afford. And so we had to, there was one that I did who is affordability was only $2.4 million out of the 4.8. And so the trust was offered him a grant of $2.5 million. And mark you, remember I say it's a grant. So when I made the $200,000 that I mentioned for the disabled grant a while ago, and this one, they are grants. You don't pay back grants. The trust gives it to you. So, but in order, it's called a home grant that will give you to make up to the amount that you need. It's not only for scheme units, it's also for persons who buy on the open market. So if you're buying a house for $9 million and you and your daughter buying that house and you're only eligible for $7.8 million is short, that's 1.2 Duke. The trust will give you that $1.2 million so that you can own the home. You don't have to pay it back. In order to be eligible for that grant, you would have had to be contributing to the trust for 7 years or more, and you would have had to be in the lower income bracket, in the 0% bracket. All loans, and again, I say to my customers, every time I say to every customer, they'll always tell you that I say secure your soul and secure your estate. Secure your soul in Christ. You cannot live without God, despite what anybody thinks. And secure your estate. And the trust helps you in securing your estate, in that even when you're not paying back any interest on the loan, when you're at 0% and you're only paying back what you borrow, the trust makes sure that there is life and peril insurance. So if you take out a loan and you pass, the mortgage passes with you. Yes, nobody has to come in and pay off the loan for you and all of that kind of stuff, and then there's a fight to say it's me pay off the loan, so it's me must get the house because he never left no will and all of that kind of stuff. The mortgage passes with you. If you join with somebody, another person, if it's 2 of you or 3 of you and one passes, the mortgage dies with that person, not the person's portion, all of the mortgage. It closes right out. All right. And there is peril insurance, natural disasters. If it is that rainfall and storm come blow up your roof, you can claim insurance from the National Housing Trust to fix that property. All right, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so we continue. I didn't want to forget those points. Another challenge that customers have when they are purchasing a house is to get their deposit. Well, when you are purchasing a scheme unit from the national, when you are selected for a scheme solution from the National Housing Trust, you get 100% financing. You're not required to pay any deposit, assuming that the unit is being sold for 15 million or less. You pay no deposit. When you're purchasing on the open market, however, we have no control over what the vendor wants to ask for. They can ask 5% deposit, a 10% deposit, or a 15% deposit. You also have your closing costs to pay, your legal fee, you have to pay your lawyer, and that kind of stuff. For persons who have contributions at the trust, this is another way your refunds can be used. is that we are now paying for 2014, but if you come to buy a house and you have problems making your deposit, you pay your 10% deposit or paying your lawyer or something like that, we advance that refund for 2015 to 2020 to you so that you can use it to help with your deposit. I'll say that again. Another way to get a bulk refund is that we can advance the money to you that you have there so that you can use it to help pay your lawyer, to help with your deposit, to help with your closing costs. It just means that those who come every year cannot come every year for it because we would have already advanced it to you. It is a loan, but it is not a loan in the sense that we advance it to you, so the system takes it back every year. So what you would have come and collected in your hand, you're not going to get it again because the system is paying back itself. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So that's another reason for you. Yes, that's another thing. That's a CR. It's called contribution refunds towards deposits. I spoke about the home grant. Spoke about the parent assist. Mr. Berry, can you elaborate some more on the parent assist for me, please?
Yes, so you have the Parent Assist 1 and the Parent Assist 2. So this is one of the ways the NHG helps young persons to acquire their homes. Now for the Parent Assist 1, it is related to scheme units, scheme solutions only. So only those units that the NHG is selling, that's the only ones that this would apply to. So who qualifies to utilize the Parent Assist 1? So persons who are under, well, it can be 65 years, over 65 years or under 65 years for the Parent Assist 1. If you're planning to assist your child, there are some requirements. 1, you would not have received a loan benefit from the NHG. 2, you would not have applied for your total refund. And 3, in the case of Parent Assist 1, you are not necessarily going to be one of the persons to borrow the loan, so to speak, right? So you wouldn't be borrowing. So why do you need an older person? Why do you need to assist your child? Because your child may just start working. And we spoke about the point system before. And the longer you work and contributing is the more points that you'd acquire over the years. So as a parent, you'd be acquiring points over the years and you would have amassed quite a bit. Your child would just be starting to work and don't have as much points. So to give them an edge, you would now use your points to help them to qualify for a loan. And this is only applicable to 5% of the scheme solution that NHG is offering, right? So you would the parent would apply and put the child as a co-applicant in this situation. For Parent Assist 2, this applies to parents who already own property, but did not purchase the property using the NHG's funds. So say, for example, you work in a bank and you have a low interest bearing loan that you can get to purchase a house, and you purchase a house, you didn't use an NHG, you still have your benefit. Normally, you could only use your benefit to improve that property that you bought using the bank loan. But if you're going to assist your child, you can get your full benefit and your child can get their full benefit to purchase the house. And here's the interesting part. The NHG is going to use the child's loan term to calculate both loans. So say, for example, I have a son and I am 58 years old. It means I only have 12 years left to repay because NHG will allow you to pay your mortgage up to age 70. Say you have 12 years to repay. That would be your loan term. But your son or my son was born 1998. So my son would have the full 40 years to pay. So what the NHT will do is to use my son's full 40 years to calculate both as a loan term for both loans. What that means for you is that your repayment over the period will be less. And it means that after you would have passed on off the scene, your son would still, my son would still continue to pay that low monthly payment. So the other thing too, I don't know, too, is that with the parent assist, it gives your child the edge. Your child may be a young entrepreneur and maybe you want a child out of your space for whatever the reason is. You feel that they're big enough. It gives the child the opportunity to own a home, and it gives the parent the opportunity to help that child, though the parent may not have a lot of money in the bank to put up to assist the child to purchase a house.
Mr. Berry, I see two hands. I'm not sure. Can we take, I'm not sure if it's related to what you're asking.
I'm not sure if it's...
Can we just...
We can take two questions now.
Two questions in the middle.
Right.
I see Alicia, Senior, and then Anita.
Yes, thank you, Julian. Earlier when Lydia, just before when Lydia presented, she spoke about the mortgage dying with one individual who might have paired with somebody else, or probably even didn't pair with somebody else. And the mortgage dies with that individual. Who gets the title for the house?
You?
Well, if a person dies intestate, as Lydia has been stressing earlier, do a will. Do a will.
And if there is none,
make one.
If there's
no,
none,
the person died already.
So to make one now.
NHT is going to come for the house. Then
no, not at all.
Tell us what happened.
Administrator General. And the person who is so successful to get the letter of administration can proceed to change ownership on the title. So it has to go through the legal process.
Okay.
If the person dies and leaves someone who's under 18 years old, the process is quicker. But if everybody is over 18, the claimants, if all the claimants are over 18 years old, then it may take some time, because they have to determine who will be getting the letters of possession.
Okay.
So in that case, but in truth and in fact, if two persons join for a loan and one person dies, both loans will be taken care of by the insurance, right? So in the case of the parent assist that I just mentioned, if the parent should die, then both loans, both that of the parent, the remaining balance of the parent and that of the child, would be taken care of by the life insurance. And as a result, the child would not have anything to pay moving forward.
And the child would get the house because they both bought the house together.
That's correct.
That one is clear.
Thank you. Thank you.
Something. Alicia, sorry, before you go, Alicia, if it's the house is bought joint tenancy, then automatically the other person who bought it with them would get the property. But if it's tenants in common, that's another situation, and the legal process going to take place. But bear in mind, the trust not going to take it upon themselves to give somebody the title. It's the trust not going to do that. It's going to go through the legal process. The trust has no authority to do that and cannot do that, and will not get involved in any family thing with anybody about who should get the title. It's a lawyer has to get involved, and the lawyers for the trust and the lawyers for the beneficiary, the mortgager or the deceased will communicate, not you and a representative from NHT. Your lawyer will talk to you and NHT lawyer will do what they need to do. All right.
Thank you. Thank you, Lydia. I see Anita hand. I'm going to read two questions in the chat, but Anita, please go ahead and then I'll read.
Good evening. I would like to know, you talk about if the parent can give the child his or her point. But what about if the parent would like to join with a younger child? Does it go the same way? If the parent would like to join, like the parent is in their 50s and they would like to join with a
Yeah, man,
younger child.
So is really want, so it's the reverse here, Anita, is that the parent want the child's benefits and not the
Yes.
other way around.
Yes,
It's
but
the
which one
parent
would
that
be
needs
more?
the help.
Yes, which one would be more advantageous? Would it be better for the child to apply and the parent give the child the point, or since the child is younger?
You know, that's a
or
decision that both of them need to make. It's not that the trust is not going to decide who, because we don't know if the parents want to go 50-50 with the child. Suppose they
but
want to go
50-50 with the
80-20.
child is if you join with the child, for 3 of you come, that would be like 33 and 33, something like that, if you join with the child.
No. All right, Mr. Berry, take this one for me, please.
All right.
I just said 3 persons can.
Yes, 3 persons can.
In addition to what Lydia has said, if you are coming with your child and the child is younger, then as it is now in recent times, thanks to the new policies and administrated, you would be also benefiting from the younger child in terms of the loan term.
Yeah.
Loan term will be based on the child. However, what is going to happen is that they're going to combine the income. So if it is that the child is at 4% and you're at 0, and say the child is earning $80,000 per week, then you are also going to go up to 4% as well. So while we look at the younger person for the loan term, we're going to also combine the income at the end of the day, because you'll be getting only 1 letter of commitment when you're leaving the NHT, and you now will have to determine who pays what portion of the total repayment, monthly repayment. So that decision will have to be between you and your child, right?
Yeah, but if the child joins with you, do you have a new policy where if the child assists the parent, the child does not lose his or her benefit if they want to get a home later?
Anita, sorry, you go ahead.
Yes, the only, and it only comes with the scheme units. It's what is was intergenerational, the intergenerational benefit, where your child comes in with the parents as an intergenerational benefit. The child can actually get a benefit later down. That is the only one, but it only relates to scheme and scheme strictly. Not
okay. Okay, thank you.
So Anita, you remember the point I made earlier when I said, though as the young person should be careful who inveigle them to give away the points, because they don't have another benefit later on, unless, as you mentioned, they got a scheme unit under our intergenerational policy.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much. I see a few questions in the chat before I move on. What happens to the NHT points of the individual who acquires a home on the open market? I think this is answered, but go ahead.
Well, you have 2 choices. You either get a home on the open market or you get a scheme unit. The points relate to scheme solutions. So you would have gotten a home on the open market, so you don't need the use of the points anymore. Can't get another house with points. Can't get one with points and one on the open market. Next question.
That's true. How can an elderly contributor living overseas get their refund if they are uncertain of some of the places they worked?
In all applications for contribution, refunds are done online. There's no other way to apply other than online. There's no need to sit down and write out 1976, Ministry of Education, 1977, Ministry of Labor. There's no reason to do that. You simply can put 1976 to 2014 with one of those companies. Anyone. You got that part?
It's loud and clear.
Okay.
That's a good.
No
Is
need
there a
to spell
requirement?
and spit out.
Is there a requirement for the home grant?
Home grant, you have to be a contributor for 7 years or more and earning in and falling the 0% interest rate band.
Thank you, Lydia.
In addition, just to add to what Lydia said, the 0% here is between minimum wage and $15,000
Right.
per you're earning that per week, then you would fall. You would be able to, along with the other things that you mentioned, you'll be able to access the home grant. I said that because 0% goes from minimum wage up to 30.
Right. So even though it goes from minimum wage up to 30, it's only those who get minimum wage up to $15,000 would be eligible for the home grants. And you would have had to take we're going to calculate how much you're eligible for and then give you the difference in the home grant. So if you're only short $200,000, that's what you're gonna get. But you're allowed to be short up to $2.5 million.
Loud and clear. Thank you.
So I continue?
You can go ahead. You can continue, please.
All right. There are other financing options that you can join with. You can utilize in order to get a benefit from the trust. However, we mentioned earlier, both Duke and I mentioned that sorry, hold on, please. Right, that there are some policy changes, and the policy changes relating to these will be in effect come October 1, and we have not gotten the prints on them as yet. So I really am deliberately gonna skip this because I do not want to give you improper information. And that would basically be the end of the presentation here. But let me say, people, your home ought to be your place of peace. When you're out all day at work, you go through the hustle and bustle on the road, you have to mix and come in contact with all kind of people. You don't have a choice as to how they react to any kind of situation. You would want to go home at the end of the day to a peaceful environment. And people should long to go home. They should be happy to go home. And so I always encourage my customers that when they get the house, and they get the keys and they're happy and they're all of that, they go in and they bless their place. Ensure that the process of how you got your house does not bring you any discomfort. And I say that to say this again: be careful who you join with. Yes, you want the benefits. Yes, you want to own a home, and yes, this person have them benefits, and in your mind they don't want it, they're not using it. And then later on something happens with you, and all of this go into turmoil, and you have to sell the house to give back the pay of the person, their benefits, and to all sorts of things happen. Be careful who you join with. Be careful. I'm just saying that at the end of the day, be careful who you join with. I'll take all other questions now. Any other questions? Was that good?
Very good. Any other questions? Floor is now open for questions. Anita, your hand is still up, or it just needs to go down? I see your hand up.
Yeah, I want to ask a question about the land. Sometimes persons are saying that the schemes that are built, I wasn't so clear on the answer that was given. So that's why I'm asking it again. Sometimes the schemes are built for a long time, but you don't see anybody own the lands. They are not fenced around or anything. And people are saying that the trust, if it's not the trust, whosoever built it, are still owners of that land. Is that so? Is it that the trust still have lands in these schemes, or they don't have any lands in those schemes anymore?
Anita, I don't know that there's, and probably you could correct me on this, I don't know that there's any scheme that the trust has built that has not been sold out.
Okay.
I don't know. Go ahead,
Okay.
you.
Yeah, correct with that. Because
I am correct. Okay.
even commercial
So those
lot,
lands are owned by persons. They were selected for those scheme solutions and they're owned. And really and truly, it is them who are supposed to maintain those lands. Because a lot of those persons, they get selected for the lands, they don't come for their construction benefits, or maybe by the time the land, they are no longer contributors to the National Housing Trust, and so they cannot access the construction part of their benefits, and they don't have any money to build out of pocket. It could also mean that the persons who were selected have passed, and the land is in administration as to who should get it, so nobody can build on it and that kind of stuff. But really and truly, it is the owner's responsibility to maintain those lands, because a lot of them just leave them there and they grow bush and all of that, and predators lurk in them and become a threat to other persons who are paying their taxes and all of that. So I don't know that we have any schemes that have not been sold out. All of the lands there are sold, it's just that persons haven't accessed their benefit, their construction to build on it. They have not built out a pocket, and as we say, sometimes the land is in administration. Perhaps the person passed, the owners pass, and family could be having issues over who should get it. Things like that happening.
Thank you. Thank you, Lydia. Abigail?
Yes, I have a question. I'm not sure if you have stated this before, but let's say NHT is selling a unit for $50 million, right? Would you be required as the buyer to have a certain amount of money saved along with the points, or is it that the points are just acknowledged?
Duke? Duke?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes, Lydia. In response to the question, if you're purchasing a house, say for example, I'll speak to the week on this scheme. Let me just answer it in one go. So if there's a scheme, say for example, you're going to be applying for the scheme, you are selected, but you can only afford 6.5 and the unit costs $10 million. Then yes, you would be required to have the additional amount. You can get that amount, you can finance it in different ways. Either you have it in your bank account or you can borrow the money. If you're borrowing on the open market, the requirement is for you to have at least 5% deposit. Lydia spoke earlier about the contribution funds towards deposit. You can come to the NHT and you can access those deposits, those contributions that are able to assist you with the deposit. If that's not enough, then you go into your savings, or again, you borrow the money. So in addition to the deposit for the open market, you have things such as the valuation report that you need to pay for. You also have the surveyor's report that you need to pay for, and also the vendor's attorney to prepare the sale agreement. And the government also is going to want for you to pay for the registration fees and the stamping fee. So it is wise for you to have valid money in hand if you're going to be purchasing a house, either on the open market or the NHT scheme, because with the scheme, you would pay a minimum of $3,500 for closing costs. But the requirement may be more depending on the situation.
Thank you. Abigail, is that clear enough?
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you. I do not see any more hands, but I do believe, Lydia and Duke, that a number of persons have not owned homes because they lack knowledge and listen to what other people say, it's hard and it's impossible, and don't even go and investigate. because a number of things, I'm not saying it is as easy as it sounds, honestly, but a number of things that were said here today, and I'm sure a lot of persons were not aware of it.
Yeah.
A lot of persons were not aware of it. So thank you very much for sharing with us this evening. I know,
Julian,
yes,
I invite, when you're ready to buy your home,
yeah,
I invite you to first contact the Kingston and St. Andrew branch of the NHT before you go to any other branch. Even
Okay.
if you live in another parish outside of Kingston, it is okay to contact a loan officer at the Kingston and St. Andrew branch, and we'll do our best to get it off. An average loan processing time is 6 to 8 weeks. Can take a little longer sometimes, depending on documents presented or the vendors. Sometimes the vendors are the one who hold up the processing. But we'll try our best to get it through as quickly as possible. So we invite you to contact the Kingston and St. Andrew branch first.
Good, thank you. Is there any particular reason why you want to expound on that, Lydia?
To contact the Kingston and St. Andrew branch?
Yeah, first, yeah.
Let's just say that our officers are highly dedicated, and we'll try to get it done for you as quickly as possible.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
That's basically it.
Okay. And you are a loans officer, and so is Duke?
Well, Duke is a loans officer. I am one of those persons who my manager send anywhere at any time, wherever I'm needed. So yes, I work in, my substantive post is in customer service refunds, but I've worked in other units, including new loans department, in the creation of loans.
Okay, great. I know some persons from time to time speak of time to get to the NHT and sit and have those discussions. Would you be able to share any information to say contact me, you, she, whoever at any time? Can they contact you?
Well, an email can be sent to me at any time. I really don't give out my cell number because for the mere fact that I'm not able to handle all the calls that come on my cell phone. But if you send me an email, I'll respond to the email at any point. There are times when I'm responding to an email at 8 o'clock in the evenings. But if you call me, I'm not gonna necessarily be able because of my other activities, which some of them you know about,
yes.
That my other volunteer activities that take up my time. So it would not be beneficial to the person who is calling me. So I say an email, make detail what it is that you want me to find out, and I'll respond, or I will call you back at a convenient time.
So can you share that email with us? Let me type it in the chat.
Wilks, L-W-I-L-K-S.
L Wilks, yes.
At NHT. .gov.jm. The telephone number for NHT is 929 500. It goes up to 9, and my extension is 4556. Mr. Berry will share his information.
Yep, my extension is 8107. And my email is dberry at nht.gov.jm.
And your extension is?
8107.
8107. Lovely. So at least persons can start a conversation with you, send you an email, and we get it from there. Do not allow this opportunity to pass. People, ask the questions, call. If you're unsure, call. Don't listen to what people say who are not inside to give you the real status or the real understanding. A lot of things that were said here today, it's new to me, believe me, as many years as I've been on earth. And some things are new, some things were not so years ago. So things have been improving. And I am anticipating some new things again. So I'm looking forward to that. So Ms. Wilkes, Lydia, and Duke, thank you very much. Any parting words, anything you want to say to us before you go? Either one of you.
I just want to say thanks for the opportunity to speak to you guys. It's always a pleasure for me. It's fulfilling. And I wish you all the best in owning your own home. I am hoping I've made a note of the persons here on, and at some point I'm hoping to get a call or do a loan for one of you. So, you know, I wish you all the best.
I'm sure you will. Thank you very much for coming on. Thank you for sharing with us. And we'll keep in touch. Anything new, I'll definitely share it with the team. I'll be connecting with you guys. Thank you. Thank you. Bye, everyone. Thank you for joining. See you. If you're not a member of the Adopter Youth